welcome back to my channel. My name is Makayla, and today we are going to talk about my very long fall TBR, as well as I'm going to give you some of my fall book recommendations from books that I've already read. So for me, fall constitutes August, September, October, November. Thus, we have 4 months worth of books that we can fit in here. So my TBR is very long, and yeah, I'm ready for fall to start, even though it's still 100 degrees in Texas. But we have a lot to talk about, so we are going to get right into it. So let's go. Hey guys, it's Editing Makayla here. I'm coming on here to say while I was editing this video, I realized I said the word excited an astronomical amount of times in this video, and to poke at myself and make light of the situation, we're going to start a counter of just how many times I said it. And don't get mad at me or upset. I'm pointing it out now and I'm making fun of myself for it, so you don't have to do it in the comments. Anyways, we're going to start a counter and back to the regularly scheduled video. Starting off with books that are on my fall TBR, like I said, this is covering about 4 months worth of reading for me. It is ambitious, but I'm super excited about all of these books. I also have some on Kindle Unlimited that I will be sprinkling throughout here. We're just gonna get right into it. So starting off strong, I'm finally planning to read the ACOTAR series. I'm actually about halfway through the first ACOTAR book right now. This is what I'm currently reading, and I'm finally getting into the plot, really invested, and I'm super excited. For me, I know this series is gonna be what I read for the next month or so, because once I start a series, I like to just read the series back to back to back. I'm not one that likes to split up series, especially this being a fantasy series. I don't want to split it up too much because I know obviously it's all connected. And for me, I read Throne of Glass last winter, and I feel like I'm finally in a good place to where I can read ACOTAR without comparing the two series, because I've had enough time to debrief about Throne of Glass. So ACOTAR series is a big thing on my fall TBR. Now we're gonna go kind of rapid fire through the other ones, and just starting off strong, Six of Crows. This is obviously a very well-known and well-liked book. I'm super excited to see if I like it. And yeah, we're starting off strong with this book. Hell House by Richard Matheson. I had not heard of this book, however, I got it from Barnes & Nobles, and Stephen King has a little quote on the front, and I'm super excited. It's a horror thriller. And yeah, I'm super excited. If you can't tell, you'll see a lot of the books on my fall TBR are fantasy, mystery, thriller, yeah, and horror. That's a good portion of it, just because that's the vibes I like for fall. So, Hell House by Richard Matheson. Now another strong one, Stephen King, The Mist. I do kind of want to do a Stephen King reading marathon. This is the only book that they had at Half Price Books of his that I wanted to get, but there are other ones that I do want to read. And I actually did watch the movie of this. I forgot what it's on, but it was pretty good. So I'm excited to read the book, and I'll probably rewatch the movie after reading the book. So, Stephen King, The Mist. Next up is Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. I read another book by her earlier this year, and I did like it. So this one is another just horror thriller. I'm super excited to get into this one. One Dark Window, and as well as If I Like This One, the second book, which I think is called Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is another one that is obviously very well known and went very viral on Book Talk. So I'm super excited to read this. I've been saving it to read in fall because it just gives such fall vibes for me, and yeah, so I'm super excited for this one. Ninth House by Leah Bardugo. If I butcher any of these names, I'm very sorry. But this one I'm super excited because it gives just dark academia vibes, and I was really wanting to add a book to this TBR that followed that. So I'm really excited. Obviously this is a well-known author, as well as this is a pretty popular book. So I am really excited to try it out and see if I like this style of book, because it's kind of the first one that I've read that's in a dark academia setting. Next up is the Percy Jackson. This is the first book in the series. I really do want to read the whole series, and I think this is going to be one of those I just slowly read throughout the entirety of fall. I found the first 2 books at Barnes & Noble. No, I found the first 2 books at Half Price Books, and I'm going to slowly try to collect all of them. This is the original, no, this is not, the second book that I got. is the original cover, which I really like the original covers. So I might try to thrift and like look at thrift stores and stuff and see if I can find most of the original covers, but we shall see. I only have the first 2 books right now because that's all Half Price Books had, but I will plan on slowly reading all of these. Next up is The Gracier by Kim Liggett. I've had this on my shelf for a while, and I don't know why I've been putting it off. It's kind of a thriller slash action type book. It very much follows like Hunger Games type style, and I'm really excited. I've had this on my shelf for a while, and I know some people that I watch on YouTube have really liked this book, so I'm excited to pick this up. I know this is also on Kindle Unlimited, so if you're wanting to give it a try, you can, but I've also had this physical book on my shelf for a while. Next up is Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. When I first read about this book, I actually didn't buy it at first, but I kept thinking about the book, so I eventually went back and bought it. And yeah, it's another one where it's very much like Hunger Games-esque, trials, all of that type of stuff. Great vibes, and I'm super excited to give this one a try. Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is obviously a very well-known, well-liked book. I'm super excited. I got a special edition, which is so pretty. I love the sprayed edges, but this is obviously another one that's a very well-known book, and I'm super excited to give it a try. This is kind of my only like general fiction, I believe, that's on my fall TV. I lied. The next book I'm about to pick up is another fiction. Anyways, I only have very few, and this is one of them. So I'm really excited to get into this one. Next up is The Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. This I had heard from Haley Pham. She really, really loved this book. I actually got it from Book of the Month, and it's very like historical fiction, romance fiction, just a lot of great vibes, and I'm super excited to read this. I think it'll be a great breakup between reading like fantasy and thrillers. I think just having a few general fictions in there is going to be really good for me. The last physical book that is on my fall TBR is Dark Matter by Blake Croce. This one I've also had on my shelf and I've been saving for the fall because it just gives good fall vibes. This is another kind of thriller-esque, but it's not like horror, and I'm super excited to give this one a try. This is another one a lot of people know and love, so I am really excited to try this one. So going off of the books that are on Kindle Unlimited that I want to read for fall, first up is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. So Heartless Hunter, it's another one. It went very viral. A lot of people like it. And I've never read a vampire fantasy thriller, so I'm super excited to read that because it's trying something new, and I am really excited for that. Next up is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Marshall. This is another thriller. Super excited to read that one. Another one is One for My Enemy by Olive, I don't know how to say her first name, Olive Blake. She's another author. I've seen her books at like all the bookstores, especially I think it's, what is it, Master of Death. I've seen that one in every single bookstore I go to, and I've almost picked it up so many times, but I don't know what's stopping me. So I'm super excited that this one is on Kindle Unlimited so I can give this author a try. And who knows, if I like the author, maybe I would go pick up that other book. The next one is Local Women Missing by Mary Kabusa? I don't know how to say the name, but Local Woman Missing is another good one that I'm super excited to try. It's a thriller. And last up, the last book that is on my fall TBR, I actually found the author posted a TikTok about it. It's brand new, and she's an indie author, so I'm super excited to read it. And it's called Liarland by Madison Rupp. And it's a theme park thriller, and I'm so excited because it just sounded really good, and I love giving new authors and new books that like aren't widely known a try, because sometimes you can find great gems. So I'm super excited to read that. I'm looking at my stack of books for my recommendations, and it looks a little daunting. However, I do have quite a few series in here, so I think it'll go by faster than I think it will. But now I'm just going to give you some of my recommendations of books that I think you should read in fall, and just give good fall vibes and books that I liked, and I'll give you some reasons on why I think you should read them or not. So we're going to go right into it because there is quite a few books sitting here. So starting out, we have Hide by Kiersten White. Like I said earlier, I have one of her books in my fall TBR, but this is a theme park paranormal mystery thriller horror. I really did like it, and I would recommend it. It's really short, so it is a quick read. And yeah, if you're looking to dabble into like supernatural horror and paranormal horror, I'd recommend picking up this one because it's not too intense or too incredibly scary. So I think this is a good dabble if you're wanting to try out that genre. Next up, we have the Inheritance Game series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The original 3 books I really loved. They are just so fun and whimsical. If you love puzzles and mysteries and games with like tiny bits of romance, I would highly recommend these books. They are just such quick binge reads for me. I loved the 3 in the series. I had originally gotten the first book and I immediately went and bought the next 2 because I absolutely loved it. There is technically a 4th and 5th book out in the series. I have only read the 4th one, The Brothers Hawthorne. I really did not like this book. It is past the plot of the original 3, so it's not a necessary read, but I didn't enjoy this one as much, and I think that's a kind of common theme of a lot of people, where not everyone loves the 4th book in the series, and they just came out with the 5th book. I think it's called The Grandest Game. I've not read it yet. I'm still deciding whether I want to read it, but nevertheless, I would recommend the original 3 books in the series. Next up, we have All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers, which if you don't know Ashley Flowers, she actually owns the podcast company that hosts a lot of the very popular true crime podcasts. She's an actual host on the Crime Junkie podcast, as well as she's like an executive producer for a lot of other true crime podcasts. I listen to them a lot, and she wrote a thriller, like not true crime, but just like a crime mystery book, and this is so good. I would recommend it. I think it is her debut novel, but I would recommend it. It is a fun, fast-paced read, and if you love true crime, I would highly recommend reading this one. Now we have the Caraval trilogy by Stephanie Garber, which this trilogy holds a special place in my heart. I read this last fall, and it was absolutely perfect. I got sucked in. It is very whimsical and magical fantasy. There's not very intense world building, so if you're wanting, I don't want to call it lighthearted fantasy, but there's not super intense world building, I would highly recommend this trilogy. I have not read the trilogy that comes after it, like the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I have not read that, but I do plan on reading it at some point. But I really loved this trilogy. If you love games and mystery and whimsical, magical romance, I would highly recommend this, and I loved all 3 books in the series. Now for a smaller thing, I have The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is obviously an older book, but I just reread it and I absolutely loved it. So if you're just wanting a short, quick read, it is so good. They also came out with a musical that is just as amazing for this book, and yeah, I would absolutely recommend rereading this because at some point you might have read it in like middle school or high school, and it's really good, and just read it. It's also really short, so if you're just wanting a quick book to break up some of the series or anything, I would recommend this one. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I just read this. I absolutely loved it. It is just so magical and beautiful writing, and the storyline is so great about living through time and being remembered, and it's such a beautiful story, and I would absolutely recommend reading it in the fall. It is such great vibes, as well as it's pretty much set around the fall time throughout most of the book. We also have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is obviously a very popular book, and I have only read the first one in the series, but I did enjoy it. I read it pretty quickly, and if you're just wanting a good kind of YA mystery, I would highly recommend this. I think it's a good way to dabble into Holly Jackson's writing because I have read quite a bit of her writing, and I think this is a good fall time one that you can read if you don't want something that's too intense or too serious on the thriller side. I would recommend this one. We have another series, and that is the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. If you have not heard about them, it is Criminal Minds, true crime, all wrapped into one. It is so amazing. It is young adult. You get a little bit of romance as well as just mystery, thriller, and it's so good. And if you love Criminal Minds or true crime, I think you would love this series. It is also just great. I feel like fall time vibes just because I think mysteries are just great to read in the fall, and I would highly recommend this whole series. There is a novella at the end, but my physical book of Bad Blood included the novella, but I think they physically sell it. I don't know, but anyways, I would recommend this whole series. Next next two books, I would highly recommend them if you're a person that loves like cheesy TV shows and movies sometimes and just want things that are not serious and are just lighthearted. I would highly recommend Assistant to the Villain and Apprentice to the Villain. This is the first book, this is the second book. This one actually just came out like 2 weeks ago. But they are technically fantasy, but I would say they are so lighthearted and not serious in any way. There is some magic in the world, but for the most part, it is very lighthearted, and I really, really enjoyed them. Like I said, they are kind of cheesy, but sometimes I do enjoy reading that, and these are just perfect for that if you love it. Also, Assistant to the Villain got put on Kindle Unlimited, so go check it out if you want to. And yeah, these are just perfect if you love cheesy, fun, and just whimsical. I love them so much. We have another 2-book series, so a duology, up next. For me personally, I did not really like these 2 books. However, I know a lot of people really love them, and I think they are really fun to read in the fall time and are just a good, fun read, and that is Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. Like I said, personally, I didn't really enjoy it. I just couldn't really get into the story and did not care that much, but a lot of people really love it. The writing is very pretty and beautiful, so I would recommend this duology. Another 2-book series where only 2 of the books are out in the series so far, and if you have not read these yet, I don't know what you're doing, but that is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I'm not going to talk about them just because you probably know about them by now, and if you don't, I don't know where you've been, because these took the world by storm, and I absolutely loved them. Fourth Wing holds a special place in my heart. I think it was one of the first fantasies that I ever read, really, and just fell in love with. And yeah, the writing may not be the most beautiful literary masterpiece in the world, but I think reading is very subjective on what you like, and I really, really enjoyed these 2, and I'm so excited for the series to continue. They are hunky fellas, so if you're wanting some longer fantasies, here you go. Now, the next book, I feel like it's a very hit or miss for people whether they like it. I personally really liked it if you like Criminal Minds true crime, if you liked the Natural series and want a more adult version with more romance in it. I would recommend the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. This is all 5 books in one. However, all 5 books are on Kindle Unlimited. That is how I originally read them, and I ended up buying the physical copy because it is one of my favorite like series of all times, and I would highly recommend it. This has great, just, I don't even know how to describe it, just like true crime, romance, FBI, murder vibes. And it's just really good. I loved it, and I would highly recommend it. However, I would check trigger warnings. It does get kind of descriptive in some of the scenes. However, I found it very good, and like I said, this one's very hit or miss. Some people love it, some people don't. It's really subjective, but I think if you read the back cover and you were interested, I think you would love it too. I read this whole series, so what would be this whole book, in a matter of 2 days. All 5 books in 2 days. So, if that tells you anything, it's that this can get you hooked, and it's really, really good. We have another series that currently only has 2 of the books out. I believe the 3rd one is coming out in October or November. I might be wrong, but that is Lightlark and Nightbane by Alex Astor. And these 2 books are so good. They're beautiful. Like, there's so much printing on the pages, and I absolutely love it. But the storyline is just so unique, and it's technically, I would say, a fantasy, but the world building is not very intense, and it's super easy to get into the plot. You fall in love with the characters, and it is just so good. Nightbane left out on a cliffhanger, so I am so ready for the 3rd book to come out. I wish I would have gotten the hardcover of Lightlark, or there was a paperback version of Nightbane, because I hate having mixed covers, but that is just a personal qualm that you probably don't care about. I don't know why I mentioned it. But these 2 are great fantasy, romantasy vibes, and I would recommend them. We're moving on to the last recommendation for this video, and I cannot go without recommending the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. This series I think will forever be my favorite series of all time. It holds a very near and dear place in my heart. I am missing the first 2 books in the series because my boyfriend is reading them right now. However, they are so amazingly beautiful, and it's one of those, when you start reading it, you might not feel like you're super invested and you're like, this is okay, I don't know why everyone rants and raves about it, but you continue reading and you start to fall in love with these characters and the journeys that they're going through, and it is just so amazingly beautiful, and they are so great. They are all very long, especially as you go through the series. The books just get thicker and thicker and longer. The Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the series, is almost 1,000 pages. It is a big, hefty fella, so if you want a series that is going to consume your life and take up a lot of time, Throne of Glass is it for you, and I would recommend everyone reading it. It is so great. And yeah, this is going to be the final recommendation because we have to end off on such a good note for this video. So I would highly recommend the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below if you've read or want to read any of these books. I'm really curious to see, as well as if you have any other books that are on your fall TBR. I'd love to maybe check them out and read them. And I hope you guys had a great time watching this video. If you like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!